Nintendo has just shaken up the hardware and software industries. The Nintendo Switch 2 has been announced, and this video is not talking about all the specs and latest magnets and features, although there are a lot of cool things, including like the little mouse thing that you'll be able to do. There's a lot of cool stuff with the Switch here, or Switch 2, I should say. However, there's a lot to unpack about how Nintendo just positioned its hardware, positioned its software, in-game purchases, and everything else that is going to completely shake up the industry, because that is what Nintendo is capable of doing. We all know that the Switch is insanely popular, and the Switch 2 will be following in that, and Nintendo is looking to make a serious cash grab. So this is going to shake up everything from GTA 6 to next-gen hardware, and let's dive into the details here, because this is something you need to be paying attention to. So first off, we know that the Nintendo Switch is insanely popular. 150 million at least units sold. It has potential over the next few years to maybe become the best-selling console ever. I don't know if it'll overtake PlayStation 2, but it definitely seems like potentially passing even the DS. Nintendo has done a wonderful job with the Switch 2, and they have built up a ton of momentum, a huge fan base, and now they are looking to capitalize upon that, which is where the Switch 2 that was announced this week, I guess depending even today, depending on when you were talking or looking at this stuff. But let's dive into like the analysis side of this, because there are some significant things here. So first off, the Switch 2 is going to be $449. That, depending on how you feel about it, is a lot of dollar dues. That is a lot of money to anybody, right? That is Series X pricing. That is PlayStation 5 pricing. That is your traditional high power, sit under the TV, horsepower console. And Nintendo's like, that's what we got to do. Now, keep in mind that I believe the original Switch launched at $299, and you can even buy a Switch Lite today for $199. So to go from $299 to $449 is a big jump, and it is a significant price range for the Switch console. The thing that really has me a bit nervous here actually is the PS5 Pro at $700. Friends, family, Romans, lend me your ears, because I'm here to tell you that the $700 traditional console is probably the next gen launch pricing, if it's even that low. And I say low in quotations because, hey, $700, not cheap. But if Switch, which has always been considered the value purchase, right? Just we're not focused on graphics and that sort of stuff, is $449. That's without a game, by the way. If you want a game, it's $500. It's $499. The next gen consoles are absolutely going to be stratospheric in terms of their pricing. So high, in fact, that I actually am starting to wonder, like, typically a console like a Series X or whatever, or Series S especially, it was like, hey, you bought this because you didn't want to buy a PC, because PCs are complicated. You got to maintain them. They're not just press button, get game. But that pricing value is going to evaporate here. Now, the one caveat to that are GPUs, but even secondhand GPUs or slightly older GPUs are far more capable than even the PS5 Pro at this point, if you're lucky enough to find one, which really inflates things a little bit. But the point here is that consoles are like $1,000 console. Is that going to be out of the question? It might not be when next gen arrives in the next, we're looking at 2 years, especially if the Switch is at $450 with no games and the PS5 Pro is at $700. You could see Sony and maybe Microsoft trying to press that like $750, $799 price point. And yeesh, like the value of a console really starts to evaporate, and that becomes concerning at that point. Now, it doesn't just end with the hardware here, because for those of you who've been paying attention, which you probably were during the announcements today, games are getting a significant price bump from Nintendo. We're looking at $80 for the base game. Now, games have not really cost $60, and there's a lot of caveats to that, for a decent number of time, right? There's DLCs, there's in-app purchases, there's vault editions, there's platinum editions, there's treasured, there's tons of different flavors of the games that ratchet up that pricing above that traditional $60 price point. But Nintendo is coming out saying like, we don't really care. It is $80 for the base game, and the physical game, which there's some hilarity tied to this, will be $90. So, like, this is every single game developer on planet Earth is looking at Nintendo going, well, you're doing us a big favor by raising that floor. Now, granted, game development, especially top tier games, has gotten infinitely more expensive, and a price raise is not unexpected. However, it's always just been like $60 was the very base entry, and then you could buy all the other stuff at your will. But for Nintendo, they're looking at $80. Now, there's been some waffling that looks like maybe there's titles around the $70 price point, but it looks like this is what Nintendo was publishing was $80 for the, get used to that pricing, and then $90 if you really want to grab a plastic little thing to slot in to the Switch 2. So game pricing is going to go up. And here's the big one. Here's the big one, right? GTA 6, right? There's been rumors for a while now that this is not going to be a $60 title. There were leaks that it might be $100 US. Well, if Nintendo just paved the road that their games are 80, and we all know that GTA 6 is a big title, right? This has so much gravity that other game developers are not launching anywhere near this title because that's how big and how much gravitas it has coming to market. And I think we can all but basically guarantee that we're going to be ruling out the value price GTA 6 bundles, at least for several years. Maybe it'll show up eventually, but out of the gate, $99 doesn't seem unreasonable when you look at what Nintendo is doing. And Nintendo is very much being the ice-breaking ship through the through the Great North and cracking all those legacy titles and pricing and everything else. So yeah. Ooh, but it doesn't stop there. So we have all been spoiled on the Xbox side. It's like, hey, backwards compatibility, just grab that game. It does some fancy upscaling and other things, and it's refreshed and better polished for the Series S and X. Not on Nintendo. They are definitely going to be charging for you to play the same game you've already purchased, but on the new console, slightly enhanced. We don't know what that means, but we got to assume that it's very similar to like some upscaling that Microsoft has done in the past. So the days of like, oh, my back catalog just comes with me. Now, Nintendo's been more cagey about that than Xbox has been in the past. It's always been one of the Xbox value props, right? All your games come with you. Nintendo, all your games come with you if you're willing to pay for their plane ticket. And so, yeah, so Nintendo is just like, whoo, we're just going to keep doing this and doing this and doing this. And the most hilarious bit of information that has come about Nintendo just going all in on the cash grab is this. Nintendo expects you to pay for the user guide. So they showed off this like welcome tour, and it's like a little interactive experience for your Switch 2, and it shows you about the hardware and all the features. It's not included. This is a game, or I should say an app, I'm guessing. It's not really a game, that's how they positioned it. Is something you download to learn more about your Switch 2, but it's not free. It is, you have to pay for this. So everything, and including the user guide or the welcome tour, is not free on the Switch. So not only are you paying $449 for the hardware, you're paying another unknown number of dollar dues for the welcome tour. You're paying up to $80 per title. And wow, Nintendo Switch 2 is gonna be expensive when you start packing in. Like if you want the whole thing and you want a game, you want 2 games, it's like, yeesh, plus online, like there's a lot going on here. Which, by the way, speaking of a lot going on, there were a lot of like weird sort of connections, if you will, to the Xbox One launch. So I forgot to grab an image of it, but we'll go through some of these things. First off, when you buy a physical game, you are not buying the physical game. You are buying a little license file. You will have to put this thing in, then connect to the internet to download the game. So there is zero reason, I believe, right now to buy the physical game. Unless you like really want something to like to put under the Christmas tree for your daughter, niece, nephew, whoever, then maybe that is a reason. But like right now, according to their own documentation, you put that in, press it down, and then it'll download the game. Then you can play. So this isn't completely new in the industry where it's like, hey, you got to put in, then there's a day one update. But it sounds like literally the whole game has to be downloaded. And so good luck if you're on a submarine. If you get that was the Xbox 360 launch when they said, or the Xbox One launch when they said, if you want to play on a submarine, use an Xbox 360. We've got a console for that. Was that Don Matrick? Infamous for that. It actually sank his career on the USS Xbox One. So other fun things that they announced here. So there's also this new Zelda Notes feature via the Nintendo app. More parallels to Xbox One. There was an app for that called Xbox Smart Glass, by the way. They also announced that you can plug in a camera, which has a Kinect-like experience, and there's also voice chat and other things else. I'm not saying that this console is going to go down like the Xbox One, but there's parallels here for like things deviating from the core game experience. They really want to make it interactive and chatty, and they even have where it cuts out the background so it looks like you're Twitch streaming. And so, yeah. Nintendo today really is shaking up a lot of the industry with their pricing modeling, and that is going to cascade over to Xbox in some capacity. The one thing though is it will make Xbox Game Pass look like an even better value. However, Microsoft, I guarantee you, is salivating right now at $80 games. Oh, we can raise the price of Xbox Game Pass. We'll raise it another $5 a month because, hey, games are more expensive now. They used to be $60, but Nintendo's telling us they're 80, 90, GTA 6 is 100, and so we're going to raise the price of Game Pass to match the model that developers are demanding. That is, I just wrote their blog post for them about how they're going to announce their next price hike, but hey, Game Pass will continue to look like a great value. I continue to believe that it is the best value in gaming, even if you're paying $20 a month like I am for Xbox Live or Xbox Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate. I want to call it Xbox Live Ultimate, but that's a tongue twister within itself. Yeah, so that was a lot of what Nintendo did today is they're very bullish on their console, which they should be. I mean, they sell a ton of these things, but they are really going strong after the monetization of this platform. There are no freebies. They are raising the prices on everything, and they think they've got enough sticky of enough audience that it's gonna work. Will it work? We'll find out. It's gonna be tough though, in my opinion, to sell the Switch 2 for $449 next to the Switch Lite at $199 unless they phase that thing out. I am not quite sure, but that is a lot of information from Nintendo. I wish them the best, right? They sell very high quality experiences. There's no question about that. But $449 for the console and going on up from there, I don't know. We'll have to find out. And you should find out by subscribing here because the only BS on this channel is me.